Hello, my name is Julie. I've got some boba and we are going to talk about my 2025 reading goals. I mean, for microwave stuff, this is really good, even though I kind of messed up and the boba did explode in my microwave. Still good. Now, if you know me, you know I am a strict TBR reader. I am a goal setter. I am a to-do list maker. I thought I would finally make a year-long goals video and we can see how I do at the end of the year. So I'm gonna run through a couple of reading challenges I want to do. I have a couple of just general goals about my reading life, some stuff about content creation I want to have goals with, and then I'm also gonna give you my 20 must-read books of 2025. Let's start with those reading challenges. So first off, I do a bingo board on my Instagram every single month. I have made an annual challenge for the last 2 years, and this third year, the annual challenge is every single month there's going to be a different page range of a book that you are going to read, and it is going to be a countdown to 2026. In January, the challenge is to read a book that is 600 pages or more. In February, it's 550 to 600, and it's going to go all the way down to novella length in December. And other than that, just filling out the bingo board. And then I am also going to be doing the Buzzwordathon and now the Buzz Cover Challenge. This is created by Books and Lala, my favorite. Every single month of 2025, there's going to be a title prompt and a cover prompt. For January, it is read a book with lies or truth words in the title, and the cover prompt is to read a book with a pattern on the cover, or as the main thing of the cover. I am so excited for this. I love the Buzzwordathon, and I think last year there were some prompts that were really difficult for me, but I think this year it'll be a little bit easier for me to find things. So I'm going to be doing that as well throughout the year. I am going to be doing my 12-12-12 challenge, the 12 books, 12 friends, 12 months challenge, in which different people who know my taste suggest me books. And this year I did it a little bit differently because I have 3 people from my real life who I asked to suggest me books. So these are the books that I'm going to be reading. Hello Beautiful, Kai Kei, Malice, How to End a Love Story, To Be Taught If Fortunate, Nettle and Bone, Martyr, Writers and Lovers, A Woman Is No Man. And then the 3 books from my 3 real life friends are going to be Recursion, Educated, and Dungeon Crawler Carl. Now let's do my more specific goals to me. My first one, how many books do I want to read this year? My goal for the last 3 or 4 years has been set at 100 books. If something were to happen, it's still something that I feel like I can achieve. The last 3 years, I have smashed that out of the water. In 2024, I read 147 books, so that's definitely not going to be a problem. In fact, I think I would like to read fewer books than that, or maybe fewer pages than I did last year, because I definitely felt like, especially towards the back half of the year, I was pushing myself too much. Either the monthly TBR was a little bit too ambitious, or I would just try shoving more books in after I finished my monthly TBR. I would never give myself a break, and that led to me not having as high of comprehension in books that I wasn't really feeling, and I would rather have a more fun reading experience. My goal is not to read more than I did last year. It is to enjoy the books that I'm reading, but I like the number 100 and I know I can achieve it easily. Goal number 2 is a goal that I definitely had in 2024 that I was working on in the latter half a lot, and that is to lower the number of series I am in the middle of. At the beginning of 2024, I had 51 series that I considered myself to be in the middle of. And at the end of 2024, between starting new series, finishing series, and DNFing ones, I ended up with 52. I would really love that number to go down, mostly in deciding to DNF series that I haven't read in forever. Even if that means DNFing them and maybe restarting them at a later date, that's something else, but there are a lot of series that I feel like I don't actually care about that I should just get rid of. It's very easy for me the second I finish a book to be like, oh, no more, I'm not gonna read any more of that series. But if I'm at the end of the book and I decide, oh, I think I might continue on in the series, that might book is probably gonna stay on my TBR for years. I just want to get that number down, and if that means DNFing books I haven't read in years, that's probably for the best. Goal number 3 is generally to make sure my book collection matches my taste. That means I want to unhaul books that I wasn't a fan of, that I really don't feel a strong connection to. I've gotten everything I'm gonna get out of them, even if I did enjoy the book. And also about buying. In the last couple years, I've started really using used bookstores around me, and maybe I should pump the brakes a little bit because I feel like I'm picking up books just because I recognize them at a used bookstore and I'm like, oh my god, let's go get it. And then I don't read them for years. I want to make sure that the books that I'm buying aren't just because they're cheap, they're actually books that I'm anticipating. And let's be very real, I did dub 2024 to be the year of the disappointing author because I have so many authors that I've given 5 stars to that I read in 2024, their like newest book, and so many of them were my least favorite of that authors. So clearly I can't even just trust authors that I love, but I'm gonna be working on making my collection spark a little bit more joy. Then my next goal is reading more of a genre and reading less of genre. I would like to read more books that are in the literary fiction, general fiction sphere. I feel like I had a lot of success with the books that I was picking up in 2024 that were in that sphere. I'm kind of craving that sort of book right now. I don't mood read a lot, but if I was to mood read right now, like that's the kind of thing that I'm feeling. Books I would like to read less of. I would like to read less fantasy romance and possibly less romance period. I've not written off any genre, but fantasy romance for me specifically has been flop after flop. I don't think a lot of what's coming out right now aligns with my tastes at the moment, so I think I just want to avoid it. And romance, I'm still so picky with the romance that I pick up, but maybe I need to be even more picky. I'm not just gonna stick to the authors that I'm familiar with, I'm definitely gonna try out some new people, but like, I know I'm not a romance girly, and I'm gonna make sure I don't make myself read too many books that I'm not gonna be a fan of. Then I have one huge book, one TBR veteran that is also, I think, the longest book on my TBR. I have owned this book since I was probably 13, so I have owned this book for probably 10 years, and it is finally time for me to read Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. My parents got me this book when I saw the musical for the first time. Like, this was the budding of me becoming a theater kid. I believe Les Mis was the first musical I ever saw, and I loved it. My parents bought me the book, knowing that I wasn't gonna read it immediately, but sometime in my life I would. And for so many years, it's just been something on my bookshelf because I love the show and I would like to actually give it a shot this year. I do have the mass market paperback, but I think I might see if I can get an audio copy. But that is the big monumental book that I'd love to get through in 2025. And if I say it out loud to the universe, I'll actually force myself to do it. My last reading specific goal that I'd like to do is to chill out with the rules that I keep imposing on myself about reading. I'm a pretty neurotic person to begin with, but when it comes to my reading, I'm very particular about certain things. I need to relax and not let rules that aren't actually there stop me. Let's go through what a couple of these rules are. One, I really don't DNF books. I did not DNF a single book in 2024. I DNF'd one book in 2023. I don't love DNFing books because I like to have a fully informed opinion, but I want to maybe allow myself to DNF a book. And tying into that and one of my previous goals, I'd like to let myself DNF series more. I also have a rule where I kind of try not to read an author more than once in a year. By the same token, but even stricter, not reading more than one book in a series in a year. Because I have so many series going on, I don't let myself read multiple books in a series in a year because I have so many other series to get through. So if I work on all 3 of these things, getting through the series, DNFing series I don't want, and reading more than one book in a series in a year, I should be able to clear out more of what's in the system. One thing that I am absolutely particular about, I do not let myself roll a book over to the next month. I had one book that I did that in 2024, and it was not my fault. It was, I thought I had access to the book. It turns out it was a young reader's edition, so I had to put the regular edition on hold. I don't like doing that because then my stats aren't right. Because then I read some pages in the first month that weren't counted toward the first month, and my stats are all wrong. And I need to chill out and tell myself it doesn't matter. If it really matters to me that much, I can go in and edit all my stats and everything. Another rule that I have for myself is I don't really reread books. I used to reread books all the time when I was like 14. I would reread like Percy Jackson like every single year, but since becoming an adult, or even just since like high school, I haven't been rereading books that I love. I've had maybe one reread a year the last like 3 years. I would like to let myself reread some books if I want to, if I feel like it. And my last one is something that I kind of felt myself doing towards the end of 2024, and that was trying to make sure that fantasy was my most read genre. I don't need to do that. I like fantasy. I don't need 33% of my books to be fantasy. Some of these are just the way I like doing things, and some of them are now getting in my way. So I don't feel the need to break all of these rules, but I would like to relax on them. Then content-wise, I do have a couple goals. One, I would like to make some more recommendation videos. I think people get a lot out of those kinds of videos, and also it allows people to sort of have a taste test of what my reading is like, and helps people get to know my reading a little bit better. Number two, I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers if possible. Last year, I did end up doubling my subscriber count, so if I do the exact same thing this year, I will get to 1,000 subscribers. So I'd love to do that. That means I would be at the point where I would be able to monetize my channel, and that means that I would be able to put money back into the channel. And I'd also like to swap to a new editing software. My editing software is not good enough for me right now, so I think I'm gonna try out DaVinci. We'll see. And now I'm going to talk about my 20 in 2025. These are books that I am going to force myself to read in 2025. There are a couple of books that are 2025 releases on here, but the vast majority of them are books that I already own, so it actually shouldn't be that hard for me to get through them. They are the books that I'm kind of most excited to get to. I have 4 different categories. Number 1 category is the sequels I'd love to get through. First up, we have Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. I am actually currently reading this right now. This is the 5th book in the Stormlight Archives, one of my favorite series. Number 2, The Strength of the Few by James Islington. If you watched my Best Books of the Year video, you might know why I'm so excited about this one. This is a world lightly inspired by the Roman Empire, and our main character is a lost heir who is trying to take down the empire. It's awesome. Number 3 is right behind me. That is The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. I really do quite enjoy this series. I love Richard Osman's humor. This is the Thursday Murder Club. This is book number 4, and it's about a group of septuagenarians and octogenarians who want to solve cold cases. Then number 4 is Shadows of Self, again by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 2nd book in Era 2 of Mistborn. Halfway through Wind and Truth, they definitely put some spoilers for the Mistborn series in Wind and Truth. So I am a little bit regretting not catching up on Mistborn now. I definitely want to make some progress this year. Number 5, we have As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the 3rd book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. One of my favorite books that I read last year, and I did read the sequel. That was like the one time I broke my rule, is last year I did read the first 2 books in that series, and I want to finish out that trilogy. And another trilogy I'd like to finish out is Beartown. I would like to read The Winners, which this is a general fiction series about a town in northern Sweden that is very dependent on its hockey team. Then my next category is just authors I've loved in the past. I think all of these authors I've given 5 stars to. Number 7, we have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. This is her 2025 release, and it is about 2 students who go to hell to go save their advisor's soul. Super excited. Number 8 is Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I'm a big nerd fighter, and I have been watching the development of this book. I've been watching his signing streams. I just cannot wait to have this book in my hands. Then we have Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I really loved Normal People in, I want to say 2022 or 2023, and I've not read another Sally Rooney, even though I have Beautiful World, Where Are You right behind me. But I haven't heard very great things about Beautiful World, Where Are You, and I've heard better things about Intermezzo. I'd rather read the one that's perceived as better, so that I'm more excited to read the one that's perceived as less good. It took me a very long time to make that decision of which of her books was going to go on my list. Then we have Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. I loved The Sword of Kaigan. I think I give it a 4.5 technically, but I cannot be more excited for this. I think me and my friend Katie are going to be buddy reading this, hopefully. Katie? Look at me, we're doing this. I've heard nothing but glowing reviews of this. So excited. And number 11, the last book in this category, is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This book has been on my TBR for years and years and years, and I just got a used copy of it. I loved In the Dream House. I had it on my TBR for longer than In the Dream House, which I have read and loved since. So I just really need to get this short story collection that is general fiction slash horror off of my plate. It needs to go. My next category is otherwise 5-star predictions. I have not read from these authors before, but the way that people are talking about these books, I know I'm going to love them. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna be devastated. Book number 12 is Chlorine by Jade Song, which I actually have already read, but you'll have to wait to my wrap up to see what I thought about it. This is a literary fiction slash horror about a teenage girl who has turned into a mermaid, and she is reflecting on her life as a human and her transformation. Then we have Light from Uncommon Stars by Raika Aoki. This is a science fiction that I have been told I am gonna adore. It has to do with like aliens and the violin, and it's multiple people trying to steal each other's souls or something like that. I don't understand the synopsis of this book, but I have been told by so many people that it's right up my alley. Excited. Then we have Kaikei by Vaishnavi Patel. That's actually right down there. I have owned this book for too long, and I have only been holding off on reading it because I was holding off for it being a book club pick. I think that ship has sailed and I should just read it. I'm excited about it. Just read it. Then we have James by Percival Everett. This is a book that I just got for Christmas, and this is the story of James, or Jim, from Huckleberry Finn, and I have heard really fantastic things about this one. As soon as I heard it was about Huck Finn, I knew I needed to have this. And number 16, I have chosen We Used to Live Here. This is the horror that everybody has been talking about last year. It is one of the most like universally enjoyed horrors that I have seen in a long time, because the horror genre is so particular. So many people had in their top favorites of the year, and everyone who I've seen not give it a 5 was like, actually I did enjoy it, it just wasn't a favorite. So I think this is a really safe bet for me. I wanted to read it in 2024, didn't get a chance to. And my last category is TBR veterans. I think all of these books I've owned for at least 4 years. I'm not exactly sure on that number, but these are some of the books that I've owned the longest, and I would just like to get them off of my TBR. I've already mentioned I would like to read Les Mis this year, and then number 18, I want to try Charles Dickens because I've read some things that call themselves Dickensian, so why not actually give the guy a try? No, I'm not talking about A Christmas Carol. I don't know that I actually have read A Christmas Carol, but I've seen so many adaptations of it that I'm not counting it in my category of first Charles Dickens. I did a poll on my Instagram for what book most people would recommend as someone's first Charles Dickens, and people told me to read Great Expectations. I've owned this for a while. I know nothing about it. Then second last, we have Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. I've read a couple of Margaret Atwoods and thoroughly enjoyed them both, and this is a dystopian novel that is the first in a trilogy. I think it's post-apocalyptic. I just have some people in my life who have really enjoyed this series and told me I definitely need to be reading it. And lastly, I have this big old collection of Stephen King's first 3 novels that I have had for so long. I have read The Shining and I've read Salem's Lot, so it is finally time for me to read his first book, Carrie. I think this is one that I'm probably gonna like quite a bit, and it's also on the shorter side, which is great. So that is my 20 in 2025 TBR and all of my reading goals for the year. I would love to know what your reading goals are. Do you have any genres you're wanting to pick up more? Do you have any book buying habits that you're wanting to change a little bit? I'd love to hear what you want your 2025 year to look like. But thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to see more from me, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you want to see when I post more videos, you can hit the bell and you'll get a notification every time I do. And if you'd like to find me anywhere else on the internet, you can find me at that single link in the description. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.